Bitcoin is once again flirting with its all-time high of $73,000 per coin and gearing up for what many people think is the next leg of the explosive crypto bull market. A period where many other cryptos and altcoins absolutely explode for months on end. After all, it's been almost exactly 4 years since this happened the last time. So is history going to repeat itself, or is something completely different going to happen? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to explore today in this video today as a blockchain developer myself who works this technology on a daily basis, who's watched these markets day in, day out through multiple bull cycles. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below and subscribe. And if you want to take advantage of all the insane opportunity that's happening in crypto right now, then I can show you how to increase your income by becoming a blockchain developer over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's get into this. Let's look at the current state of the Bitcoin price and the entire crypto market and talk about what's happening right now and what could happen next. Now, obviously, nothing I'm saying in this video is going to be financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy, hold, or sell any crypto based on this information. But with that being said, Bitcoin is currently flirting with its prior all-time high of $73,000 per coin and gearing up for what many people think is the next leg of the explosive crypto bull market. So we previously reached this level once prior this year. We've come up for another test. And so are we just going to rocket past it this time and go into the next leg of the bull market? Well, not so fast, because despite what anybody tells you on YouTube or anywhere online, nobody really has a crystal ball to know exactly what's going to happen. And so we have to do the best that we can with all the information available to us and then consider the possibilities and weight them in terms of probability, which I'm going to do in this video. Now, one thing that you have to understand is that we have a pretty major event on the horizon in just a few days at the time of recording this video, which is the presidential election in the United States. And one reason that I think that Bitcoin is still hovering around its all-time high and hasn't definitively broken past it yet is because of the uncertainty of what's going to happen with the elections. And one potential scenario that could cause some turbulence for Bitcoin, the entire crypto market, in just a few days is if the results of the election aren't exactly clear when people think they're going to be. So hear me out here. So, if you look at Polymarket, the current odds of the election actually being called on election day are only hovering at about 20%. That's a 1 in 5 chance. And now you might say, well, yeah, most elections aren't actually called on election night unless they're a landslide victory. That's true, but you have to entertain the distinct possibility that something worse happens, that we drag this thing out to where nobody's really conceding, and that the election isn't really called for weeks, maybe even months after election day. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it does, it could put crypto in a pretty tricky scenario and would really be a big upset for everybody who thinks that crypto is just going to rocket past its prior all-time high and that everything's going to go crazy right after election day. Not to mention the fact that there's any other type of backlash or tensions that arise from the outcome of the election, even if it's definitive either way. So you have to bake these things into your line of reasoning before you get a really clear idea of what's going to happen next. Now, let's say that doesn't happen and we have a pretty clear winner within a day or two after the election is over. Well, it's a pretty binary outcome at this point. It's going to be either Trump or Harris. I don't really want to bring politics into this video, but my read on the crypto market is if we do see a Trump victory, that would probably accelerate things for crypto in terms of the bullish sentiment. I think the market pretty much identifies as Trump being more of a bullish choice for crypto markets. And so I think we could see things accelerate if that happens. Now, Harris wins the presidency, I think crypto can do just fine. I think we can enter into the next phase of the crypto bull market. But the most important thing is that once the election's over and we have a clear idea of who the winner is, then that's ultimately going to give the market certainty. And that's really what the market wants, okay? So right now, Bitcoin is hovering around its all-time highest, not definitively breaking through it. I think we need clarity on who the next president is going to be before the crypto market actually wants to take its next leg up. So if we get any type of delay in that, the market's not going to like that. But once we have certainty on who it is, regardless of whether it's Trump or Harris, that's going to lay the foundation for the next leg forward. Now, that being said, if we enter into the next phase of the bull market, what does that look like? What price levels do we have to reach for that to actually be confirmed? Well, I don't think it looks like, Bitcoin going to $75,000 and then falling down again and then hovering around that price range for a while. That really doesn't really put us out of the woods into a much different state than what we're seeing right now. To me, we need to see Bitcoin definitively break past its prior all-time high, because before then it was about $69,000. We got just above it earlier in the year. But ultimately, we just did this for the past 8 months. We really need to see Bitcoin break up to the probably $80,000 to $90,000 level, hold it as support, and then build a base for the next explosive move, or just continue rocketing quite past that level. So if we do go to these new levels, we see Bitcoin break these new price levels, we enter into price discovery, and it looks like we're gearing up for momentum towards this next phase. How long is that going to last? When's it going to happen? What could this cycle look like? Well, again, nobody's got a crystal ball to really know for sure, but I see 4 distinct possibilities on the table, and I'll tell you what I think is most likely here in a minute when I just give you my straight up opinion. So scenario number 1 is that we just have another traditional 4-year cycle. Okay. So if you've watched my channel at all and heard me comment on the crypto markets, I'm not always a big believer in the 4-year cycle thesis about, Bitcoin, moving around the halving and that really being the master behind the curtain, pulling all the strings. But it is kind of uncanny that we're reaching these levels about the exact same time we were 4 years ago. Now, another good reason for this could be the liquidity cycles, which approximately happen every, 3 to 4 years in the broader economy. And we could see that, correlating with what's happening right now, again, also with the elections. But one scenario is that we basically see a very traditional 4-year cycle where we break the prior all-time high about like we did 4 years ago. And then we have, another, say, 8 to 12 months of this type of activity where we reach a peak somewhere towards the latter half of 2025. Now, that seemed to be the consensus view of what most people are expecting. And one thing I've learned, from being in this market for a really long time is that markets tend to not quite do what other people are expecting. So if we do in general get the consensus, 4-year cycle, then there still begs the question, what is the trajectory of the price action during the next 12 months? Because, in the last expansion, we had this double top pattern, okay, which pretty much nobody expected, but that's what happened. And in the cycle before that, we had this nice sort of just stair step up until we got a peak in December. So if we do get a traditional 4-year cycle, I would expect the trajectory and the shape of that to not quite be what everyone is anticipating throughout that time. It's not going to be this easy ride just up the top. Now, scenario number 2 is that we don't quite have a 4-year cycle. We have something much faster. Okay, so let's just say, for example, the election gets called really quickly. We kind of know who the president's going to be, and then, crypto just absolutely moons. Let's say it's like 100K in the next month. And that just turns into much more crazy bullish momentum. And then Bitcoin just goes higher and higher and higher. And we're seeing it trading at almost twice its valuation in January. Well, that could put us up for a scenario where we just have an accelerated cycle and we see Bitcoin top out a lot sooner than people are expecting. That's the kind of thing we have to watch out for. Look at the information as it comes in, because what tends to happen with Bitcoin is, it goes up really fast and then it goes down really fast. So if it goes into violent price discovery mode for, 1 to 2 months straight on end, then it's very possible that it tops early and then we enter into a bear market a lot sooner than people are expecting. And this whole thing ends in tears just like it did last time. All right, so scenario number 3 is that basically we are gearing up for the next phase of the crypto expansion, but it doesn't result in this just violent, bull market that's going to magically end on some certain day in 2025. Okay. We are having the distinct possibility that the crypto market starting to segment out and certain cryptocurrencies move differently than others. So for example, we've traditionally sort of used Bitcoin as our index for the entire crypto market. But if you look up to this date, Bitcoin's kind of doing its own thing. Altcoins are kind of doing their own thing. And then meme coins are doing their own thing, regardless of what's happening with the Bitcoin price. Okay. So we very much could be in a new era of the crypto market where Bitcoin is starting to have these, shallower market dips where, it kind of does its thing and enters to a new price level really quickly, like it always has in the past, basically very explosive moves upwards. And then it just kind of consolidates and becomes, slightly bearish for a while until it, wants to enter into its next phase of things. And, maybe some of the rest of the crypto markets correlate with that, but not quite as explosive as what was happening with Bitcoin now that we have ETFs and things like that. So basically, in summary, we could be entering into the next phase of crypto expansion, but it may not be anywhere near as violent as people expect. And then we sort of have these like a miniature boom and bust cycles, kind of rinse and repeat with much less predictable bear markets, much less predictable bull markets for the future. It's very possible that the entire composition of the crypto markets basically just change forever. All right, so scenario number 4, and this one is one that I don't think a lot of people are going to like, is that Bitcoin is basically just put in another double top. Okay. and that we're about to enter into another bear market. So basically, we saw this double top pattern happen back in 2021. All right. You see the first peak here and the second peak here, and then we entered into a bear market. Now, the very same thing could be happening now, where basically we put a peak here in March. We saw this sort of dip that's not quite as bad as this one here, but we enter into the same price level here, 6 to 8 months later. And then that becomes sort of the final nail in the coffin before we enter into a prolonged bear market. Now, why could this happen? Well, again, we've got a lot of unknowns on the horizon. What's going to happen with the election? After the election, is there something in the economy that's going to break? Could some sort of global conflict play out? If any of these things happen, crypto doesn't exist in a vacuum. If the stock market just decides to take a nosedive and everything goes south, then crypto is probably going to go with it. And that could put in this double top pattern like I'm talking about. And we could be into a bear market for a while. How deep that bear market would be, well, it's really hard to say. Now, those are the 4 possible scenarios that I really see playing out in my view. I guess you could add in the possibility that Bitcoin just continues to range here, but I don't think that's super likely. So what is the most likely in my view? Well, my view basically is that crypto probably is gearing up for its next expansion. All right. And that's going to be very clear in a 4 to 6 month time frame. So why do I think that? Well, I believe that the economy really is improving. I think that we are starting to see signs of global liquidity tick up. I do think we have significant inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs. I think the state of the entire industry is really just moving forward. And then I do think that we're going to see, some significant clarity within the elections within a reasonable amount of time. And that once the market has that clarity, that it's going to basically have all the information it needs to start making the next advance. Now, what exactly does that look like? So that puts us in scenarios 1, 2, or 3. So basically that we have some type of traditional 4-year cycle, or that we have an accelerated top, or that we have these much more gentle crypto cycles where the market's not really all moving together. It's somewhat correlated, but Bitcoin's kind of doing its own thing. Well, in my view, it's really hard to accurately predict exactly which one of these scenarios is going to play out, but I am betting on one of these 3. But at the end of the day, I'm positioned for all 4 of them happening. But the reason that I lay all these different scenarios out, even though I don't know exactly which one's going to happen, is you have to understand what the range of possibilities are and be prepared for any of them. And that's what I'm doing. Now, on my last and final point, the most important thing, regardless of what happens, is that the blockchain industry is continuing to grow. And that's what I'm most excited for in the next coming year. And so if you're watching this video and you're interested in blockchain development, then that's really good news for you because, new products are shipping, new innovations are happening on chain, teams are actually building, they're funded, especially as we've seen crypto appreciate in value. New DeFi possibilities are out there to create your own apps on chain, whether they're, trading bots, DeFi strategies, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's where the real bull market is for the developers, for the builders who are watching this video who want to capitalize on this industry. So if that's you, then make sure you smash that like button down below, subscribe to this channel. And if you want to take advantage of all the insane opportunity that's happening in the crypto bull market, the builder bull market for the technical people out there watching this channel, then I can show you how to increase your income by becoming a blockchain developer over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You really don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.